All right, let's jump right in. If you've been building AI apps lately, staring at those dark mode terminal screens and real code examples, you already know the landscape completely shifted in April 2026. We got hit with GPT-5.5, the absolute powerhouse for agentic coding, and a massive surge in autonomous frameworks like OpenClaw. But look, actually putting these pieces together in production, it's like a giant puzzle. It is incredibly tricky. So today, we're doing a deep dive explainer. We're going to break it all down. The hard numbers, the pricing, the architecture, everything you need to build reliably without blowing your budget.
Right off the bat, if you're deploying this into production, you're slammed with a critical choice. Do you go with the standard $5 model, or do you take the leap to the massively more expensive Pro variant? Honestly, picking your API endpoint, Thinking versus Pro, it's not just a toggle switch. It literally determines the entire financial and cognitive foundation of whatever you're building. Section 1. Meet the GPT 5.5 variants. We are standing at a fundamental fork in the road here. This is a major architectural decision. Now here's the crazy part. Both of these variants actually share a massive 1 million token context window. That means you can dump entire code bases or huge documents into a single prompt for either one, but under the hood, it is a totally different story. GPT 5.5 thinking is your standard go-to default. It's highly optimized for agentic coding. But GPT 5.5 Pro, man, this variant uses parallel test time compute to just grind through highly complex tasks. It's built from the ground up for absolute maximum accuracy. Moving on to Section 2, Benchmarks and Technical Execution. Let's look at the actual data.
These high-difficulty benchmarks show us exactly where Pro leaves the standard model in the dust. For deep, multi-source research, like on the BrowseComp benchmark, Pro hits 90.1%. The standard is down at 84.4%. How about really complex frontier math? On Tier 4 challenges, Pro jumps to nearly 40%. And check out the GeneBench eval from multi-stage genetics data analysis. Pro hits 33.2%, while the standard model is stuck at 25%. So if you're dealing with hard, multi-step logic, Pro is undeniably the heavyweight champion here.
All right, Section 3, the 6x pricing divide. We've got to talk about the elephant in the room.
6x. That right there is the exact cost multiplier you are going to face when switching your endpoint from Thinking to Pro. Yes, you're getting that amazing parallel compute and the higher accuracy we just talked about, but your token spend, it literally just skyrocketed by 600%. No joke.
Let's break down exactly how that math plays out, because it's pretty wild. The standard thinking model is $5 per million input tokens, and that drops to just 50 cents if your prompt is cached. Awesome, right? Well, the Pro variant jumps to $30 just for input. And then, the output. It is a massive, and I mean massive, surge to $180 per million output tokens. To put that into perspective, what this actually means is that Pro should strictly be reserved for workloads where getting the wrong answer would cost you more money than the API call itself.
Which brings us right into Section 4, Target Use Cases. So, based on those insane benchmarks and costs, how do you actually route your tasks? Well, if you're just doing your daily knowledge work loops, native computer use, or routine agentic coding, Thinking is your default. It's literally considered the right default for standard production workloads. But if you are acting as a co-analyst in a heavily regulated industry, we're talking structured research, strategy planning, complex legal or financial reasoning, then Pro is absolutely your mission-critical tool.
Oh, and before you start architecting your whole system, you need to be completely aware of the availability rules. Neither of these models has a free tier. None. Zero. GPT 5.5 Thinking is accessible to Plus, Pro, Business, and Enterprise users in ChatGPT and Codex. But the Pro variant, it's much more restricted. You can only get your hands on it if you're on a Pro, Business, Enterprise, or Edu plan.
Okay, Section 5, Comparing to OpenClaw Agents, or as I like to call it, brain versus hands.
This is such a vital distinction to grasp if you're building in this space. Think of a frontier model, like GPT 5.5, as just an isolated brain. It's got pure reasoning, incredible logic, huge context, but it sits in a vacuum. It can't actually do anything on its own. On the flip side, an autonomous agent framework, like OpenClaw, acts as the hands and the memory. It's the actual infrastructure that goes out and executes specialized subagents, manages your background cron jobs, and actually clicks the buttons on external tools.
And when you put them together, it's basically magic. You take that reasoning engine, our GPT 5.5 brain, and plug it into the gateway control plane of OpenClaw. From there, it can autonomously control cross-platform nodes on macOS or Android, spin up agent-managed web browsers, and seamlessly hook into omni-channel messengers like WhatsApp. You are quite literally turning a standard chatbot into a 24/7 digital proxy that works for you.
But hey, let's be real. Automation definitely has its limits. Developers are running into what's being called the Dory problem. You know, like the fish? Because background cron jobs operate in totally isolated sessions. They have zero memory of what just happened in your main chat. So, say you cancel an appointment in the chat. Well, the cron job might still fire off 2 days later anyway because it forgot. The current fix for this is forcing a pre-flight check against a curated decisions.md file, basically telling the agent to abort the mission if the context is changed.
Finally, let's get into Section 6, Security and Final Verdict, because with high-stakes autonomy comes some serious risks. Look, when you contrast the raw power of these agentic workflows with the severe vulnerabilities of giving an AI system-level access, it's actually pretty terrifying. When you give a model like GPT-5.5 full autonomy via OpenClaw, your traditional firewalls become practically obsolete. We're talking about remote code execution vulnerabilities, nasty prompt injections that lead straight to data exfiltration, and even supply chain contamination from unverified agent skills. This is exactly why OpenAI internally rates GPT-5.5's cybersecurity risk as high, and why researchers are scrambling to build things like the full lifecycle agent security architecture.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Reliable automation is obviously the ultimate goal here, and GPT-5.5 paired with an agent framework is undeniably powerful. But with the Pro model costing up to $180 per million output tokens, combined with those high security stakes of giving an AI full system access, you really have to ask yourself, is maximum automation truly worth the cost for your specific use case? Or are you better off just keeping the AI in a safe, sandboxed co-pilot role? Think about your architecture, run the numbers, and above all, build safely.